Right, so I recently stumbled across a video that at first glance seems pretty standard. You know the type, just another Karen out in the wild, doing what Karens do best, making everyone else's day worse for absolutely no reason. Nothing special, or so I thought. So in this clip, she stood dead in the middle of the road with her dog, already annoying, but then you notice the caption says it's something about freshly laid concrete, and now I don't know if you ever touched fresh road in the sun, but that stuff is basically a frying pan. You could cook a full English on it, which means while she's too busy trying to be as irritating as humanly possible, her poor dog is essentially doing hot coals training against its will. And I think that already tells you everything you need to know about her as a person. Priorities, non-existent. Dog's comfort, optional. Being a nuisance, well, that's her full-time career. Because here's where it gets interesting. Because what I thought was just a random 30-second clip of public stupidity turned out to be part of a much bigger saga. And I mean years worth of back and forth. We're not dealing with a one-off incident here. This is a long-running series. This is basically the MCU of neighbourhood beefs. Now, I'm not 100% sure where this is all set, but after doing a little bit of digging, and by digging I mean 5 seconds of scrolling, I'm going to confidently and maybe unfairly say Florida. Because where else would something like this thrive? The whole situation takes place in one of those small communities run by an HOA. And now if you're British like me, you hear HOA and think it's either a disease or a streaming service, but no, it stands for Homeowners Association, which basically means you pay money every month to be told what you can and can't do with your own home. Fancy painting your door a different colour? Absolutely not. Park slightly wonky? Straight to prison. Breathe too aggressively near the hedges? Fined. And from what I've seen, these places always end up being run or at least heavily influenced by someone exactly like this woman. Short hair, high attitude, just unlimited time, the final boss of complaining. And so my first proper dive into this whole situation came from a 7-part series. Yeah, 7, from the perspective of a man who is definitely not behind the account posting these. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Anyway, I know him as Mr. Schmitty, which is what Karen keeps calling him, and every time I hear her say that, all I can think is Jonah Hill's character from 21 Jump Street. I'm half expecting Ice Cube to pop out and start shouting at everyone. From what I can gather, Mr. Schmitty here also lives in this community, but he's not just some regular homeowner, he's got some kind of role within it. I'm not going to pretend I fully understand how these HOA setups work. There's boards, positions, responsibilities. It's all a bit confusing. But from what I can tell, he's basically just trying to help keep things running, which makes what happens next even more frustrating. In this 7-part series, Mr. Schmitty is in the local clubhouse, just taking down the Christmas decorations, innocent enough. Man's just out here doing admin work, and then Karen shows up. Of course she does. And she's not alone, she's got this guy with her who I can only describe as the Weasel. You'll know exactly the type when you see him, and the two of them just try to get into the clubhouse using a key from a lockbox, which they're apparently not supposed to be using. Honestly, at this point I have accepted I'm never going to fully understand the rules here. It's like trying to follow a soap opera halfway through season 14. I don't know who's technically in the right at the start, but I do know this. The argument that follows, that's just what hooked me.
Attempt to keep people out
Excuse
of
me.
Attempt to keep us out of the clubhouse again and see what happens.
Oh, God, don't you ever just get fucking bored with yourself?
What did you say?
I guess not.
What did he say? Go fuck myself?
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear what he said.
No, you didn't hear that.
Of course not. You got a lot to say. You got a lot to say when you hide behind an Instagram account, don't you? don't you, DM Sunplugs? You got a lot to say, don't you? You got a lot to say. That's a coward. That's known as a coward. Yeah, you're a coward. Yeah, you are a coward. You're a coward.
Yeah.
That's what gets you off. You think it's funny? You think it's funny? I expect to see the planters back in here and the pillows back in here and everything.
Jesus, give it a rest, lady.
No, I'm not.
Because straight away you can tell there's history here. This isn't a first time disagreement. This is long time beef. This is layered. There's lore. And as an outsider, you're just dropped into it like, right, who am I supposed to hate here? But after watching all 7 parts, and then for some reason I can't explain, continuing to watch more, I've reached a conclusion, a very clear conclusion. These two, Karen and her little side character, might genuinely be the biggest Karens I've ever seen. And that is not a title that I dish out lightly. Now here's the thing, to become the ultimate Karen, you don't just wake up like that. No, you have to embody it. You've got to summon something ancient, tap into a higher power, channel the collective energy of every manager that's ever been demanded, and have to ascend into being an absolute cunt. Honestly, it must be so exhausting, not even just for her, but for everyone involved, especially Mr. Schmitty here. This poor guy. My man is just trying to live his life, taking down decorations, laying some stones, doing the most basic NPC side quest activities imaginable, and yet, without fail, these two show up like a random encounter you can't skip every single time, constantly pestering him, constantly hovering, just flies that have developed opinions, and it makes you wonder, how miserable do you have to be to spend what is presumably your limited time left on this planet doing this, just dedicating your entire existence to being such a nuisance that you've accidentally created your own cinematic universe, not even on purpose, just episode after episode of you exposing yourself as an unbearable human being. It's honestly impressive in the worst possible way, because I don't understand how someone with that many grey hairs and someone with barely any hair left to begin with can consistently wake up every day and go, yeah, today I'm gonna be a problem. It's not just Mr. Schmitty either, oh no, he's just a side character in this whole saga. She's like this with everyone that she doesn't deem worthy of being in her community, which is wild, because if we're doing inspections, maybe take a closer look at your own team, because that little sidekick she's always got on a tight leash, yeah, that guy, turns out his track record isn't exactly spotless. This man, former attorney, former radio host, was once sentenced to 10 years in prison back in 2018 for stealing millions from elderly clients. Millions from elderly clients. And now he's out here acting like the moral authority of the neighbourhood. That's just insane. Now clearly, yeah, he's out, he's done his time, fair enough, but it does add a very interesting layer to all of this, because you've got these two walking around policing everyone else's behaviour, meanwhile their own history is looking like a true crime podcast waiting to happen. Which just makes this whole situation even more bizarre. It's messy, it's layered, and it's still ongoing. At this point, I'm too deep into it. I have to keep following this now. There's no way I don't come back with an update when the next episode drops. Because if there's one thing you can say about these two, they are committed. Fully committed to the bit. And honestly, you almost have to respect it. Almost. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this madness for a bit. I'll keep an eye on it, see if anything else kicks off. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.